Sales is my jam.
Did you always love sales or has it
No.
been a journey?
Sales was scammy, sales was manipulative, sales was the only thing that was going to get the job done.
That's powerful.
To sell is to human. Like
Yeah.
you and I, we are selling right now. I'm selling you my ideas, you are selling me yours. Money is a tool.
I love the content that I see that you produce, but I see that you're also into sales. What's your relationship with it?
I love sales. Sales is my jam. I am a mother, and that isn't tangential to what I'm about to say because the skill that I want my children to learn almost above any other is sales. Sales is so incredibly powerful. It is one of the engines of growth and of transformation. The best salesperson in this world, the world that we live in right now, however you feel about it and however much I and many others believe that it should change, absolutely. But sales is one of the ways we get stuff done. Being good at sales, understanding the nature of sales, sales mastery is how transformation occurs. And yeah, the best salesperson wins in the world that we live in.
Always. But were you always like this? Did you always love sales or has it
No.
been a journey?
Not at all. Not at all. Before this point, me feeling how I feel about it now definitely was a journey. I loved sales when I was little and was a very persuasive and precocious little human and had a few instances that really made me change my relationship with sales. I then began to believe there was a problem with sales. Sales was scammy. Sales was manipulative. And so there's definitely been a reclamation journey back to the way that I feel about sales right now.
And what was it that made you feel that it was scammy? So what changed? What was that moment?
It was the impartation of poor experiences that the adults in my life had projected onto me. And so it was being told to not do that. Don't sell. Don't look like we need much. Like, don't behave in that way. It is problematic. And as much as I now am a highly free thinking, pretty much do what I want kind of person, as a young person, you do as you're told. And I was told not to engage in that way. And so decided not to.
Was the word used back then when you were younger sales or was it called something else?
It was more about commerce, business. One of the exact expressions, and again, I was very young, but was looking like you need money. It's come in a number of different guises, but the principle and the foundation has been the same.
Oh, I think a lot of people will relate to that. The reputation aspect and how people perceive you and the judgment that might come with it, how you interact with the world and what you're asking for, so to speak, in a sales perspective. That's very interesting. And wait, so when did it change back?
So it changed back, probably been about maybe between 15 and 20 years now, because I came out of an investment banking career into helping my mum run her business when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I walked into a business that was struggling with a business owner that was also struggling. And I stepped in so that she could focus on her fight back to health. And, thankfully she won that fight. My mum is healthy and well with us today, which I'm very grateful for. But in that season, sales was the only thing that was going to get the job done. Like we needed cash and, my work is focused on cash flow and cash was the thing we needed and sales was how we needed to get it done. And in that moment when you are, this is no longer a matter of preference. This is a matter of mortgage. This is a matter of employees and people's lives depending on you. You are no longer in a scenario where you can do what you feel like doing or do, what feels aligned or, and, that isn't to say that the sales that we were doing were misaligned, but it was to say that even if in my deep discomfort of sales in that moment, there were other things that were more important. And so we got the job done.
I wonder, in your experience of working with so many people, do you recognize this moment in them as well? Like, do you see this? I would almost like to say it's survival, the need of actually making sales immediately because it's less about the alignment. Alignment is important, but it's that primary need of safety and survival. Do you see that in people that you work with as well?
It's so interesting because the relationship challenge or tainting isn't with sales, it's with money.
Yeah.
Because to sell is to human. Sales is simply a transfer of value, and one of those forms of value is money. But every form of communication is a sale. Like you and I, we are selling right now. I'm selling you my ideas, you are selling me yours. And so it is the tainting comes from the relationship with money, and therefore it is a reckoning with the relationship with money that changes the relationship with sales.
You mentioned cash flow earlier, and I want to go there a little bit because I think a lot of people misunderstand cash flow, don't even know what it means. Do you have the same experience?
Oh, 100%. People hear cash flow, think accountants. Yay, accountants, by the way. I have zero qualms with that. But cash flow is so much more holistic than that. Just in the same way that people hear the word money and think finance.
Yeah.
But money is only 5% financial, and it is many other things long before we get to the financial expression of it. And cash flow is definitely the same in that long before we see it in our, pockets, purses, bank accounts, it's the golden thread that weaves its way through our relationships, our activities. It's in our calendars, it's in our thinking, our conversations, it's everywhere. And then it rocks up financially. So yes, I definitely agree with you, and I've seen this so many times that people really don't understand cash flow. And because they don't understand cash flow, we tend to fear what we don't understand.
And how would you explain it to them?
I would explain cash flow as, or take 2 steps back, I would explain cash as the most liquid part of money. So while it is true to say that all cash is money, not all money is cash. Cash is essentially the most urgent part of money. And then cash flow is exactly that. Flow is a separate and different concept. It's its own asset within, a business, within a financial system. And it is that movement, that transfer, that energy, transformation and transition of that cash, from one party to another, from one purpose to another. Yeah, that is the kind of more holistic definition of cash flow. And again, it kind of pegs onto the definition of money, but yeah, is very much beyond just looking at the accounting version of the concept.
I love that you also talk about what I understand as the energetics of it. It's like there's almost like there's an exchange beyond the actual financial cash. I think you call it cash.
Yeah, 1000%. Money is far more energetic than it ever is financial. I mean, it's interesting, only 7% of our cash is ever physical. So 93% of what we're getting so excited and hyped out about when it comes to money isn't in physical form. And so money is far more energetic, metaphysical than it ever is physical or financial.
And for someone who has resistance in understanding that, do you, because there will be people out there.
Everybody. And to be honest, it's not only is it a social contract, it's social conditioning. So we are taught to, even those who are wealthy have very interesting relationships with money, but those who do not come from wealth have even more interesting relationships with money. The thing I would say whenever that comes up is to remember that the truth about money really does sit before our eyes. So if money, for example, was only about finance and was only about, being good at math, then the wealthiest people in the world would be people who were good at maths or people who had finance PhDs. We can see the wealth lists and we can see that the people on the wealth list are not those people. So we can see that money and wealth doesn't work in the ways that we have been taught and in the ways that we have been conditioned to think about it. And as I said, we can see that evidence before our eyes, but it isn't something that necessarily is obvious to us until we really take note of it.
And so what is one thing that you would want to, as a lesson, want to leave the listeners with, either on sales and money, that can maybe shift their perspective, shift their belief system, either money or sales? Is there something that is on your mind? You're like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are so many, but I think it's always about remembering that money is a tool. If you remember that money is a tool and you remember that you are the work person intended to use that tool, then how you feel about your tools, how you feel about yourself becomes very different. We often see so much animation activation around money because people treat money as though it is the ruler, the most important thing. It has all this power. It changes people. None of those things are true. Money is an incredibly valuable, important and powerful tool, but it's just a tool. And it's a tool that is only ever as good as the hands that it's placed in.
That's powerful.
And so it's about the change in the relationship with money and sales starts with a change in relationship and perception of yourself. And understanding that, money is like a spanner or a hammer, and you are the one that gives it power, that gives it meaning, that gives it purpose, that sends it on assignment, that gives it a place to grow and multiply, that applies it to your hopes and your dreams, means that we get to spend time focusing on the party that matters most in that equation, and that's you. That's always going to be you, never going to be the money.
I love this. This is such a beautiful note to finish on. Yinka, who do you normally work with and how can people connect with you?
I normally work with ambitious women who want to make serious cash, and that can either be in their businesses or in their executive spaces. They're really done with their current relationship and experience of money, and they are seeking to make change in that. And so the best place to come and find me, I am a daily LinkedIn creator. That's my primary platform, although I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all the spaces, or they can drop me an email at hello@callasuccess.com.
Amazing. Please do give Yinka follow and connect with her. Thank you so much for being part of the show.
Thank you so much, Ivy. Appreciate you.